me that I hope might be visible behind me depending upon the camera angle. It's not right now. I wonder, thank you for that. And this chart is an interesting chart because I think it shows the different values of the two parties right now, but it also shows potentially a different economic philosophy that we can operate a real-time experiment on. So this takes a look at how the benefits in the Trump 2017 tax cut, the Tax Cut and Jobs Act, were allocated among the 5 economic quintiles of the American public. And then it also shows how the benefits of the American Rescue Plan, passed in February by Democrats, were allocated among the American public. And if you look at the chart, what you see is a couple of things. The quintile of the American public that was most benefited by the Trump tax cut was the top quintile. The quintile benefited by the Democratic American Rescue Plan was the lowest quintile. 65% of the benefit in the Trump tax cut went to the top quintile, whereas more than 65% of the benefit in the American Rescue Plan went to the bottom 3 quintiles. The Democratic Recovery Plan was relatively even in distribution of benefits across the first 4 quintiles of American income, whereas you see a dramatic unweighting and a lack of evenness in the Republican Tax Cut and Jobs Act. Given that the Republican tax plan was passed with unanimous Republican support and no Democratic support, and the American Rescue Plan was passed with unanimous Democratic support and no Republican support, I think these two plans are a really interesting window into the values of the two parties. And the price tags of both plans were essentially the same. The tax cut plan was about $1.9 trillion. The American Rescue Plan was about $1.75 or $1.8 trillion. So I think this is a great chart, and the coincidence of which bars are blue and which bars are red is not a coincidence. But I think it's a great chart to show the different philosophies in the two parties as to how you want to allocate benefits if the government does something like this that's supposed to be a stimulus in nature. The Democratic proposal is to spread it more evenly with a little bit more focus on the lowest earning Americans. The Republican philosophy is to concentrate benefits at the top. But what I'm interested in, and this is the question I would like to pose to the panelists, is in addition to expressing the values of the parties, I also think we're now going to set up a really interesting 2-year study of what the effect of these what the effect of this legislation is on the American economy. So the Republican tax cut was done in December of 2017, and you could run a 2-year experiment, December 2017 to December 2019. You wouldn't want to get too much into 2020 because COVID is what economists would say is an exogenous shock. So you run a 2-year study, and then you run a 2-year study on the American Rescue Plan from February of 2021 until February of 2023. And what you do, and I would encourage maybe some of my academic friends on this to do this, is look at every economic data point you think is significant: family income, employment, poverty rates among adults and children, stock market, business startup activity, GDP, wealth inequality, deficit. You pick the economic measure, and for the Tax Cut and Jobs Act, you start in December 2017, and you look at how it affected the economy for 2 years. And for the American Rescue Plan, you start in February of 2021, and you look how it affected the economy in the next 2 years. And I think you'll see not only what the values of the parties are, but I think you'll also see which economic philosophy actually produces more good for American society. So that's a working hypothesis that I would put on the table to our experts, and I'd love anyone who's on the panel to address whether my hypothesis might be worthy of study.
Well, perhaps I could jump in. This is Sarah Anderson from the Institute for Policy Studies, and I really appreciate your call for more analysis of the impacts of these policies on inequality and the whole range of income levels. I would perhaps suggest an additional indicator for you to look at. No one today has yet mentioned the Federal Reserve figure from 2019 that found that 40% of Americans could not afford a $400 emergency emergency, meaning they were just one medical problem or car breakdown away from financial ruin. And I think that's one of the most powerful indicators that really gets at how it's not just about wages, it's about the cost of living. And for so many Americans, the cost of housing and healthcare have just skyrocketed. And it's a very concrete way of looking at how that affects people's level of economic security at a time when we have a growing number of billionaires at the top. So thank you.
I'm
If I
over
can
my
just
time,
add
but
to that,
I might love to hear answers from some of the other witnesses. For the record, I am.
Why don't we're waiting for Senator Braun, who is on his way here. So in the spirit of equivalence, why don't we have Senator Johnson ask a question, have Senator Kaine ask a question, and then go, oh, here's Senator Braun, saving the day, coming in just in the nick of time for his time. So I will recognize Senator Braun. If you want to take a moment to get yourself squared away, we can. Okay, very good. And Chairman Sanders is back from the vote, so he can resume the gavel.